Welcome to Running on Reddit. r/just no mother-in-law, where mother-in-laws are a piece of work, and just plain old nasty. This happened about a couple of months ago. My mother-in-law, 45, and I are civil with each other, but she's very passive aggressive, and it isn't a big secret that she hates me. I invited her over for breakfast. I made her barbacoa and asked her to bring the tortillas because I had none. We ate the tacos with my children. After the meal she offers to wash the dishes. I tell her it's okay, she doesn't have to, but I walk up and she's pouring a whole pot of barbacoa grease down my drain. I don't know if you have ever seen this type of grease, but it is the consistency of lard and is one of the worst things you could put down a drain. I freaked out and asked why she would do that, and she actually had the audacity to pretend she, a grown big booty woman, didn't know grease is bad to pour down the drain. So I take the pot and wipe off the bit that's left while she continues the dishes. I walk up again to see she has removed the strainer from the side of the sink without the garbage disposal and is literally forcing food down into the secondary built-in strainer. I tell her not to do that. The disposal is on the other side, and she puts on the confused act again. Finally she finishes loading the dishwasher and leaves. I'm relieved she's gone and still annoyed. I turn on the garbage disposal to grind any food she left down it and it jams. I have to reach in and pry out a metal bottle cap that she put in there. There were none anywhere around the sink, and it was literally not the first time she put a metal bottle cap in the disposal. I'm feeling pissed, and when the dishwasher is done I open it up to unload, and there's a full damn taco in there plus a couple of baby wipes. I text her asking why she put a damn taco in the dishwasher and a bottle cap in the sink again, and she calls me saying she didn't. I reminded her I didn't touch the dishwasher and she says, yes, but you had some dishes in the top row that are left in there. It must have been you. I remind her she brought the tortillas and it was impossible for me to have left a taco in there. Finally she throws a fit saying fine, I won't do your dishes anymore. I replied thank you. She avoided me for a good month after that, but then started coming around again pretending nothing happened. Now I stand by and monitor her while she washes the dishes, which she still insists to do while asking me snarky sarcastic questions. I answer her questions completely and seriously like if I'm explaining to a baby how a sink works. This really pisses her off. A whole taco. What a waste. That mother-in-law is a monster. I'm the future mother-in-law. This month is the wedding. Plans going well, etc. All RSVPs in, seating arrangements done, travel plans made. I just wanted to share this story to encourage everyone in the same boat to shed any guilt about the just no mothers. I gave my 50s mother 80s some fun details about the wedding a year ago. Trigger, threats to die. Her response was she didn't want to hear about the wedding because she would probably be dead by then. Nice, right? And yet, she lives. Typical of my mother. A martyr with strong narcissistic tendencies. My siblings and I have always said, if she's not the bride at every wedding, the corpse at every funeral, the baby at every birthday, the student at every graduation, the athlete at every game, you get the picture. She did everything she could to ruin events with noxious cutting comments. If it wasn't about her, or she couldn't have a starring role, she ruined it. I have vivid memories particularly of her making sure none of her own children enjoyed their wedding days, screaming matches over perceived slights, trying to stop the wedding, snide comments about the new in-law. I even as a child remember her mocking the weddings of her own sisters. Looking back, as an adult, I noticed she wasn't in the weddings of her own sisters. 3 generations now of shoddy behavior. Sorry so long. I went on low contact with my mother in my 20s, then very low contact in my 30s. 3 to 4 phone calls a year, 0 to 1 visit lasting less than 2 hours a year. Here are my points to encourage others. People who threaten to die when they don't get their way or sufficient attention usually don't. The first time I heard my mother threaten to die she was in her 40s, approximately 45 years ago. It was never an effective tool to manipulate people, but she was committed to it. It's okay to say okay when someone uses a death threat. Okay then. My child who is getting married said my mom will be represented by a white rose at the wedding, along with the roses for the grandparents who are actually dead. I thanked my child for the thoughtful gesture. I laughed my butt off after I got off the phone with my kid. Play dead games, get dead prizes. Stay strong. You can break the mold. Edited to say I'm wondering if I should tell them to edit the wedding program. Grandmother, living dead. Whenever people expect me to make plans, I always give the excuse that I will either be sick that day or in Canada. Works about 90% of the time. My mother-in-law is an awful person, we know this 100%. She doesn't care for her only grandson, but was excited that we were having a daughter. I say was, because my husband sent a group text to his family, including her, with her photo and birth stats. Mill wrote back, she looks just like her, and then radio silence. She is not interested in a granddaughter that looks like me. Bye Felicia and thank you DNA. If only it was always that easy to get rid of bad in-laws. If you like the content and want to support the channel, like and subscribe right now, or you'll be running on fumes. So, today is Seattle, the Korean New Year, and currently, father-in-law is at my house. This story gets messier. Ref and dear husband shined the spine of the year yesterday to make this happen. After Mama Shawless tirade earlier this week, dear husband has been kinda quiet. We had our first therapy session Thursday, yay, and it went amazing for him. He's super excited to go back. I'm happy for him. On the way home from this session, DH blurts out, when we are halfway home, I think, my mom, is she just a racist? Okay, someone here had messaged me the same thought, and it got to me. I started to think, sister-in-law, married a white man, and she adores those kids, no matter the age. She loves my kids when they are babies, but then she kinda wears off. DH pointed out how racially ambiguous our kids look when they are babies. He called our youngest Brad for like the first year of his life because he was so bright, but as they age, they naturally get darker. He also spoke about how she didn't want any of her grandkids to have traditional Korean names, and how he barely saw father-in-law's parents when they were growing up, even though they lived in the same town. She always shunned the traditional holidays and foods, all of it. He said she practically made them grow up without their Korean heritage, and he had to sneak to learn the language. He brought this up without me prompting him to. I think he was searching for a plausible reason for her behavior toward our oldest little one and her behavior towards me throughout the years. We won't even talk about the wedding. That's a horse for a different time. Anyway, Friday, he comes home with father-in-law. Y'all, he took a half day at work, went to pick up his father only and came back. Mom surely wasn't there, which is shocking, since she can't be bothered to leave her house for us, but I digress. Anyway, he told me he wanted to celebrate Seattle this weekend, which I know only a little bit about, by basically just having some traditional dishes. Well, he took just yes father-in-law to the local Asian market, and they bought back everything we would need, and he and his father are cooking lunch/dinner today. I cannot tell you how excited oldest little one is right now. But, this wouldn't be on this board, unless Mama surely didn't lose her mind. I guess she can kinda sense she is losing some control over DH previously. She's always had him under her thumb and he jumped whenever she motioned for him to. Yesterday evening, I guess when she got home from her little grandma gossip session, she discovered Jiffle wasn't home and decided to call DH. He answers promptly. He usually doesn't, so this is where I could tell his spine was starting to harden. I only hear his side of the conversation here. DH, yes, MS, probably some bullcrap about where Phil is. DH, he's over here with us for the weekend. MS, incoherent yelling. DH, are you going to calm down and talk? MS, more screeching. DH, speaking in Korean. MS, even louder screeching. DH, continues speaking in Korean. MS, can she scream any louder? More on this at 11 o'clock. DH, sorry you feel that way. Click. Not 2 minutes later, DH's sister texts him. Apparently, Mama Surly is thinking about pressing kidnapping charges. I don't know how that would work, since Jiffle is a grown, independent adult who is legally not in her care for anything, but go off. Sister-in-law also says MS plans on making another appearance at my house today, so we'll see. Sounds like the father-in-law went willingly. Can that really be considered kidnapping? Not looking for advice, just a place to rant a little. My Mill and I have had a really rocky history, starting with 2 weeks after my wedding, when she blew up and went full manic crazy and called me a lot of hurtful names. Just 2 weeks ago, DH and I welcomed our first child, Mill's 5th grandchild, into the world, and she had the, in my opinion, audacity to ask DH for us to put her maiden name in our child's name. So to hyphen with his mother's last name and his father's last name. So to clarify, my child would have both of my in-laws' last names in her name, but not mine. I don't even know how she could think this is an acceptable request, especially of our first child, when she has another son who has 4 children she could have made this request with. Like, why on earth would I agree to have her name included and not mine? Not the woman's name who spent 60 hours in labor to bring that little girl into this world. If we were to ever hyphen her name, it would obviously have my name and DH's name as we are her parents. I just don't understand. Thanks for listening to my rant XOXO. Update, DH completely had my back and was just as offended that Mill asked this via text message, mind you. She didn't even have the balls to ask DH in person. She has 3 brothers, so her maiden name lives on. She has a very common Portuguese last name, a name that due to where we live, she continues to use as we're not allowed to take our husband's last names after marriage. So I still have to use my maiden name. Which if we had included her maiden name in our daughters would make traveling with her incredibly difficult as she would have 2 different last names from me. Yes, I had a 60-hour labor as I was induced, and they used every method of inducing, 2x cervical, balloon, sweep, on me and none of them really worked. Only after 10 hours on oxytocin did I finally dilate to deliver. Good thing OP and their husband were on the same page, could have gotten messy. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on the bell or you'll be running on fumes. See you in the next video.